Okay, Jeff, why don't you tell us who you are and what the OLA is about, just a kind of introduction.
My name is Jeff Bogaerts. I live in Smiths Falls, Ontario, about an hour's drive west of Ottawa, and about an hour's drive north of Kingston, small town with a population of about 9,000. And I got involved in the Ontario Landowners in 2004, and the OLA was created in 2003 in the kitchen of Merle Bowes with 5 other people. And the main reason for the creation of the landowner organization at that time, there being all farmers in that area, was an overabundance of deer, and the deer were being pests going into the cornfields, the wheat fields, eating up the produce that farmers were trying to grow and sell. And they contacted the Ministry of Natural Resources asking for the special permits to remove animals that were pests. And there are special permits that you can get any time of the year for that. And M&R was not very forthcoming at that time to help remove the pest animals. And so from that, the landowner organization grew and became more forceful as a organized group to enforce the rights of the individual and the rights of the farmer to protect their property and protect their paycheck, because the crops that they grow and sell is their paycheck that keeps the farm running. And so to tell somebody that, sorry, no, you can't get that permit to remove the pest animals, and we don't care that half your paycheck is gone, that just was not acceptable. And from that point, the landowner organization just continued to grow into other areas of property rights. So today, here it is, 2024, and I joined in 2004, and we do anything that has property rights issues, and that includes firearms. For example, Mr. Trudeau put in an order in council to remove certain types of firearms, lawful firearms, from lawfully purchased firearms by licensed people. And so we said, no, that's wrong. You can't have an order in council and bypass the House of Commons. It's not democracy. And now we have municipal bylaws, tree cutting bylaws, property standards bylaws, and they go on, conservation authorities interfering in farming practice. So as we go into the future, rather than having better property rights, we're having challenges by government at all 3 levels against property rights.
What are the importance of private property rights?
Private property rights, and we like to say in the landowners that if you don't know what your rights are, then you don't have any rights. And therefore government agencies can tell you things that you have to do or are required to do that may not necessarily be as lawful as they think they are. The right to own land goes back thousands of years. The Magna Carta in England, that was about 1060, somewhere around that time period, started to show that without property rights of an individual, you're simply a slave on the land. You work for somebody else, and they take your produce from you and give you a little bit and let you live there. But pride of ownership of property, we look at it as a person who owns property is the best owner of the property. They look after it. And why? Because they own it. They want the property to look the best. That always a time comes when you have to sell your property. Well, you want to sell your property at the top of its game. It looks good, everything's painted, the grass is cut, the trees are so on. Or if it's a 100-acre farm, that the farmer's doing well, it's fertilized, it's drainage, tile drained, and all these things. But if you don't have ownership, then what do you care? You're not going to put any time and effort into make it the best that it could be, because if you do, you're doing it for somebody else. So the removal of property rights or not having property rights, either one is not beneficial to the to the individual. Everybody likes to own something, and pride of ownership is important. And without that I own it attitude, and I want it to look good and be good, then we're not going to have a society that can be at its best.
Can you share some examples of some situations where individuals or communities have successfully defended their property rights with the OLA's help?
Oh, going back in time, there was the big tractor rally on the Highway 401, and that was to promote the idea of property rights, and that made a big impact within government of all levels, that we're here to speak to our rights in property. You need to hear what we have to say about these rights and property. And government started to listen, and they have made changes to some of the regulations. But at the same time, some of these regulations at the municipal level have become onerous. And so we constantly fight back, mostly at the municipalities and their bylaws, not so much at the provincial level, because in Ontario, the provinces can give the authority to municipalities to enact bylaws that are more onerous on private property. Tree cutting bylaws, we're pushing back on that. Conservation authorities, we have just this year, in April of this year, 24, a major change in the regulation, or one of the regulations under the Conservation Authority Act, changed a setback of 120 meters from the edge of a wetland, and they changed it down to 30 meters of the edge of a wetland. And so from the 30 meter to the 120 meter, that land can now be used for personal use, whatever the landowner wants to use it for. Priorly to that, 120 meters setback from the edge of the wetland could go into your next door neighbor, and your next door neighbor is going, I don't have a wetland on my property. It doesn't matter. You're within the setback zone, and so therefore you can't touch your property. You can't do anything with it, which is, and we've argued this, and we've told government it's too onerous, it's too much. Apparently they listened, and so they changed it from 120 meters down to 30 meters. We're also arguing on a shoreline. The people have the right to protect their shoreline from wave action. Some of the conservation authorities, no, you can't do anything, you can't touch the shoreline. Well, we're touching the shoreline for the purposes of protecting the shoreline from erosion, and that's our property. So some understand it and agree with it, but other conservation authorities are not so agreeable. And there's 36 conservation authorities in Ontario, and they don't have this tendency to follow the law equally across province. The province of Ontario, they kind of do their own thing locally. So we are pushing back all the time, and we have some inroads, we make some progress, but for whatever reason, we make the progress in one area, and then the government comes up at some other place, and they take some issues away. So we gain a little here, we lose a little there, and the fight continues, and we understand that it will never stop. But if we don't do something, then we lose all our rights eventually over time.
What are some common misconceptions people have about the OLA and its work?
I think some people still believe that we're somewhat of a militant group, going back to the time of tractor rallies, speaking from the hay wagon, what we talked about or how we talked about property rights. And it may have scared people or made them feel uncomfortable, but we weren't saying anything that wasn't true. They may have been uncomfortable by the way in which we said it, how it was presented, but the content of our message since 2003 has been the same. We have property rights. We want government to respect those property rights. We want to be left alone on our property to live our lives without encumbrances. Now, it doesn't mean that we can do whatever we want on our property. It just means that leave us alone, let us live our lives, and we will be good neighbors. But you keep coming at us, telling us we're not good neighbors, we're not good stewards of the land, and government can do it better. And we say, no, they can't. No. We, as a private property owner, are the best stewards of the land. As far as we're concerned, that's our opinion.
How can someone get involved with the OLA? Are there specific roles or volunteer opportunities available?
Oh, constantly. We have there's over 500,000 rules, regulations, and provincial acts in the province of Ontario. We are constantly looking for volunteers. If you can volunteer an hour a week, an hour a month, that would be great. The more people that become members and want to contribute their volunteer time to us, to the organization, if they have something specific that they'd like to go after, we're trying to develop committees. For example, the tree cutting bylaw committee. We get 3 to 5 people, 6 people, and they specialize in all of the law surrounding issues of tree cutting in municipal bylaws. And that goes back to the tree cutting legislation at the provincial level, the federal level. So when we can do the kind of investigation into the law on everything about cutting trees on private property and how government at municipal, provincial, or federal level does or does not have authority, we can challenge at all 3 levels what they think their authority is and say, no, case law shows this, older acts show this, Crown patent grants show this. You really don't have the authority you think you do to regulate tree cutting on private property. So that's an example of volunteerism. Those who really want to dig in and give us whatever amount of time you might have available. Call us up, send us an email. We'd be happy to have you get involved with the organization. There's no cost. It's a $60 a year membership. That's it. We're an all-volunteer organization.
What resources does the OLA offer to individual space and towns?
Oh, we have an extensive number of reports. I think there's over 30 reports that have been written, case law and vetted of being solid law. And all law is an argument until you get into a courtroom and both sides will argue, and then you wait for the judge to decide which argument or which side has the best argument and which one has provided the best defense or prosecution, and the judge decides. But we provide a substantial amount of knowledge, of information, evidence, cases, to the and education and information is what you need to know, because again, the more knowledgeable you are about the law and whether the law can be applied to your property in any particular circumstance, that's your power. That's where the truth of the matter comes out. So we try to keep adding more information, more cases, more law to our websites, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel for people to look at and educate themselves.
Can you discuss any partnerships or collaborations the OLA has with other organizations or community groups?
We don't really collaborate with other organizations, not directly. It's usually indirectly. Our organization, as being 20 years old, has been around so that we've established what works for us. We've established a niche area in property rights, and we find that most of the time people are coming to us or other organizations and asking us for help, for input, for knowledge, information. We have no issues about collaborating with other organizations. We'd be happy to do so, but it usually is where they're coming to us asking for help.
What are some of the biggest challenges the OLA anticipates facing in the coming years?
We find that the education system in Canada has been telling younger populations that it is better that government control property, control things, because government can do it better. It's almost an indoctrination into our younger population. It's I don't want to sound like a conspiracy, but it's that adage from the World Economic Forum: you will own nothing and you'll be happy. Carl Schwab, people like them say these things, and we find that abhorrent and appalling that somebody would say you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy about it. And younger people can be easily influenced, and if they're not being told to have critical thinking or shown how to have critical thinking, then they're just going to absorb whatever they're being told. And then when they get into positions of authority themselves, 30, 40, 50, they become councillors or municipal councillors or elected officials in provincial and federal law or federal parties. They'll take what they thought they were taught, and they will pass laws like Bill C-63, I think it is, that if you have any thoughts against the Indigenous residential school issues, you could end up being in prison for 25 years. You can't even challenge it. Well, it's not about denying something like that. It's about asking the appropriate questions, such as, where's the forensic evidence? Where did the coroner's report come for the exhumation of some of the bodies so that we could determine, did they die of natural causes or were they murdered? And if they were murdered, then why is the RCMP not involved tracking down whoever it might have been that committed that murder? There's a procedure that needs to be in place to protect people, but I don't see that kind of effort by the federal government to dig in and find the truth. And the NDP pushing this bill that you can't even talk about or deny this and then end up in prison for 25 years. The freedom of speech has gone out the window. It's gone. And this is across the board, whether it's that or property rights. So, anybody can walk on your property, and by law enforcement, building inspectors, or I own property that I have shoreline. I can walk on your shoreline. No, you can't. That's private property. Well, no, it's the shoreline, so it's open to the public. No, you see the signs on either side of the property here? That's private property. You can't walk my shoreline. They just can't get that in their heads. So, nobody should be able to do that. It's a public shoreline. Well, it's not. So we fight that constantly.
How can viewers support the OLA even if they can't volunteer their time?
Join up and get our monthly newsletters. Write articles and submit them to the monthly newsletter. Just what I'm doing right here is telling their stories and uploading the stories onto our Facebook page or up onto our YouTube channel so that the world can see what's going on in Canada, Ontario specifically. There are other countries out there still part of the British Commonwealth that fall under common law, British law. Australia, New Zealand are two of them. So there's no reason why they have issues of property rights down there that they can't see what property rights issues we have up here. And same down in the States. Even at one time, Crown Land patent grants were issued to people in the United States before the Civil War, or before the Constitutional War that they had in 1776. So they have property rights issues too. So it's getting it out across the world. So even though you may not become a member of us, you can still participate to a level that you feel comfortable with.
Great. Any closing remarks?
I go back to, if you don't know what your rights are, then you don't have any rights. And if you want to know what your property rights are, join the Ontario Landowners, become a member, contribute to the newsletter, write articles, come to our meetings, join a local chapter, participate to the level that you can participate as a volunteer. It's up to you as to how much time you have. And a lot of people have full-time jobs and they can't contribute a lot, but even if you contribute a little by 1,000 people can still be a lot by 10 people.
And where can people find the OLA?
OntarioLandowners.ca is our newly designed website that came up this year. So from there, then you can get to our Facebook page, our newsletter, our reports. It's all there. OntarioLandowners.ca. Thank you very much.